The fluorescent lights of Omnicorp headquarters hummed a monotonous tune against the storm brewing outside and, unknown to anyone, inside Arthur Jenkins. It felt like a noose tonight, a security guard, a ghost in this tech empire's machine. Tonight, he guarded more than doors. He guarded a memory, a secret about to collide with the present. The air crackled with unnatural tension, not just the auditor's impending visit or hushed, frantic whispers from the executive wing. It was personal. Tonight, Damon Pierce, Omnicorp's Boy Wonder CEO, magazine cover model, self-proclaimed visionary, held a mandatory all-hands meeting for a select few. Arthur wasn't select. He was just there. Furniture. Except tonight, he'd been asked to remain visible, part of the welcoming ambience. The memo from Pierce's obsequious assistant stated, it felt like being displayed. He saw the sleek black car glide to a stop. Damon Pierce emerged, sharp suit, sharper haircut, phone pressed to his ear, barking orders. He strode in. No glance for Arthur. Just a dismissive hand wave, shooing an insignificant fly. Arthur felt that familiar sting, casual disregard, the wallpaper of his later years. But tonight, the sting had an edge of bitter irony. Damon Pierce, tech mogul, was about to face a ghost from his own machine, a ghost who knew where digital bodies were buried, a ghost who wrote the first lines of code that built this empire. Arthur Jenkins hadn't always been a night watchman. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, Arthur was a name whispered with reverence in nascent software development circles. Not a showman, never craving spotlight. He was a craftsman, a logic lover, a poet in C++ and assembly, a quiet architect of the digital revolution, a pioneer seeing potential when others saw blinking cursors. He'd co-founded Binary Horizons, a small startup, with Victor Rossi, a brilliant but reckless partner. Arthur, the genius coder, the stable backbone. Victor, the charismatic salesman, selling ice to Eskimos. Their flagship Nexus Core, a revolutionary operating system kernel, elegant, efficient, years ahead. Arthur poured his soul into Nexus Core, countless nights fueled by lukewarm coffee, sheer creation joy, his masterpiece. Then, Damon Pierce. Not the Damon Pierce, just Damon. A fresh-faced MBA intern Victor hired, ambition bordering on avarice. Damon, undeniably smart, quickly grasped Nexus Core's business potential. Too quick. Arthur felt an ease around Damon, something calculating beneath the eager veneer. Victor, however, was charmed. This kid's a go-getter, arty. He'd boom. Gonna take us to the big leagues. And he did, sort of. Damon orchestrated meetings, brought unknown investors, language changed, innovation to monetization, elegance to market share. Then the buyout offer from a faceless corporation, Victor, dazzled by figures, was all for it. Arthur hesitated. He built Nexus Core to change the world, not for a quick buck. Outvoted, Binary Horizons absorbed. Nexus Core became the seed for what? After rebrands and hostile takeovers by an increasingly powerful Damon Pierce, became Omnicorp's foundational technology. The buyout terms were complex. Arthur, less business savvy, more trusting, found his contributions minimized. Victor, hefty payout, cushy executive role 4 years before cashing out, assured him it was standard. Legacies secure, arty, legacy, bitter word. Damon Pierce, shrewd legal team, ruthless ambition, rose through the acquiring company, eventually spinning off the core tech division, rebranding as Omni. He rewrote history, painting himself sole visionary. Arthur's name, Victor's too, became footnotes, then erased. Life through Arthur. Market crash, wiped out modest buyout earnings. Wife ill, medical bills consumed the rest. Tried re-entering tech. Older programmer, innovations forgotten. Resumed dated 2 young recruiters knowing only Pierce's legends. Took whatever work, eventually landing this security job at Omnicorp's tower. The irony wasn't lost. Every night, he guarded the fortress built on his genius, a silent king in a kingdom that forgot his name. He never spoke of it. Who'd believe him? Old security guard claiming he wrote a tech giant's DNA. Ramblings of a deluded old man. So, silence. A quiet observer, a living contradiction in the machine's heart. Watched Pierce's star ascend, face on billboards, sound bites on news, always that cold, heavy, not in his stomach, not just money, or fame, the truth, the beautiful, elegant code he'd birthed, attributed to a man who likely couldn't write one line. Tonight, different auditors visit. Hushed, panic. Arthur saw these signs before. Something rotten in Omni, and Pierce, more wound up than usual. A man thriving on control. Tonight, control seemed to be slipping. Arthur hoped not to be collateral damage. Just finish his shift, go home to his cat, read his quantum physics book. Simple life, far from complexities he once coded. He checked the lobby, ensuring all was secure. The polished floors reflecting his solitary figure. A man out of time, yet deeply, irrevocably connected to the heart of this very modern crisis. The all-hands meeting wasn't for all hands. It was for Pierce's inner circle. Nervous VPs, slick department heads, stony-faced lawyers Arthur recognized, gathered in the top-floor panoramic conference room. City lights, twinkling like a galaxy Pierce believed he commanded. Arthur stationed outside glass doors, silent sentinel. Memo explicit. Maintain a professional and unobtrusive presence. Arthur's specialty. Meeting dragged. Muffled voices, Pierce's occasionally rising in a sharp, interrogative bark. Arthur pieced fragments. Data breach. Proprietary algorithm compromised. Auditors all over this. Sounded bad. Very bad. Arthur felt strange detachment. This bits and bytes empire, so removed from his current life, yet so tied to his past. You, Pierce snapped, not using Arthur's name. Jenkins right, still here. Tone laced with palpable disdain. Don't just gawk, make yourself useful. Get me coffee. Blackstrong. This night's far from over. Arthur, inwardly bristling, simply nodded. Yes, Mr. Pierce. He turned towards the executive kitchenette. Demeaning request, meant to assert dominance, remind Arthur of his place. A security guard's duties didn't include fetching CEO coffee, but Arthur, professional, did his job. Preparing coffee, carefully, methodically, he heard Pierce's tirade. Entire Nexus core architecture vulnerable. If that gets out, we're finished. Someone found a backdoor, an old one. Legacy flaw from original build. Arthur froze, coffee pot halfway. Mind raced decades. Late night coding, a specific module. A diagnostic access point. Failsafe for original developers. Deep system checks. Heavily encrypted. Almost impossible to find unless you knew exactly where, how. Documented it. Meticulous notes. Part of Binary Horizons acquisition. Notes Pierce likely dismissed as irrelevant ancient history. Or had he? Could this be what hackers found? Delivered coffee to Pierce, pacing his opulent office. City lights framing his agitated silhouette. Pierce snatched cup. No thanks. Large gulp. Barely registered Arthur. Get out, he muttered, waving dismissively. Arthur returned to post. Mindable. Coffee run humiliation faded, replaced by growing unease. A dawning, terrifying realization. If breached through that old diagnostic port, he was one of perhaps two people on Earth knowing its intimate structure. Victor Rossi was other. Victor probably on a yacht, retired from code. An hour later, young, stressed tech guy, lead cybersecurity analyst by his badge, rushed from conference room, almost colliding with Arthur. Mr. Henderson? Right, Tech said, voice tight. CEO needs you. Something about building's old schematics. Some physical access point near old server room. Arthur frowned. Jenkins, Arthur Jenkins. I know the building. What access point? I don't know, ma. Tech exclaimed, running hand through messy hair. Ancient system vulnerability might correspond to old network junction box, not on current digital blueprints. Mr. Pierce is losing it. Said you've been here since Stone Age. You might know. Since the Stone Age. Grim smile. More disrespect. Casual dismissal, even when needing his help. He nodded. Sevilleville C server room. Near old freight elevator shaft. Yes, I know it. Original Nexus Core servers housed there before state-of-the-art data centers. Yes, old decommissioned network conduit nearby. led frantic tech. Two of Pierce's stony-faced security detail, men usually looking through Arthur. Two dimly lit, dusty sublevels, cool, stale air, part of building rarely visited, forgotten underbelly. Reached old server room, now storage for obsolete hardware. Around here, Arthur said, pointing to wall section near freight elevator. Behind that panel, tech guy fumbled panel open, tangle of old wires, small, unassuming junction box. Ancient. This is it? He asked, incredulous. Breach originating here. Suddenly, Damon Pierce himself appeared, flanked by more serious men, one recognized as IT head. Pierce looked like a man on verge of exploding, eyes usually sharp, wide with fury, fear. Is this it, Jenkins? Pierce spat, voice venomous. This archaic junk bringing my company to its knees. Did you know? Sleeping on job while hackers waltzed through using this relic. Accusation hung heavy. Pierce seeking scapegoat. Arthur, old, overlooked guard, perfect. Humiliation, devaluation. Arthur, drowning, slow burn of anger, emotion unfelt for years, but of jokes. Invisible man, coffee boy, now scapegoat. Injustice, a lead weight. Before Arthur responded, IT head, June, spoke, voice tight. Sir, breach isn't physical. Legacy code exploit. Physical location irrelevant, except originating signal routing through very old network pathways, as if hacker knows system's original, primordial architecture. Looked at Arthur, strange, speculative gleam. Mr. Jenkins, how long did you say you've worked security here? Pierce scoffed. Forever Kinwood bricks. What's it matter? Turned back to Arthur, face contorted. If you knew this vulnerability, Jenkins didn't report it. I'll prosecute you for all you're worth. Which, I imagine, sneering, isn't much. That moment, culmination of years of quiet indignity, sneer, utter, contemptuous dismissal. Something in Arthur snapped, not outwardly. No shout, no tremble, deep inside, decision made. The ghost was about to speak. Arthur met Damon Pierce's glare, his own eyes, usually mild, now holding steady, unnerving intensity. Air in dusty sublevel crackled, not with old wire static, but purely human tension. Mr. Pierce, Arthur began, voice calm, yet carrying new weight that made everyone, even Pierce, pause. This archaic piece of junk, as you call it, is merely physical conduit. Vulnerability isn't in wires, it's in code, specifically Nexus Core kernel. Module 7, subroutine, a diagnostic backdoor I designed. Stunned silence. Young tech guy's jaw dropped. Chun, it head, stared, eyes widening in dawning comprehension. Damon Pierce looked confused, then harsh, barking laugh. You designed it. Jenkins, lost your mind. You're a security guard. What do you know about coding our core systems? Looked around, seeking validation for Arthur's apparent insanity. His cracked, gentleman, pressure's gotten to him. Arthur didn't flinch. Before security guard Mr. Pierce, I was lead programmer, co-founded Binary Horizons. Partner Victor Rossi, perhaps you remember him, and a young, ambitious intern named Damon Pierce. One so adept at acquiring technology. Color drained from Pierce's face. Arrogant smirk faltered, replaced by a flicker of something unreadable. Shock, fear, recognition. Binary Horizons, he whispered. Name like ash. Decades ago. Company long dead. Company may be dead, Mr. Pierce, Arthur continued. Voice quiet but resonant, but code lives on. Nexus Core, foundation upon which Omnicorp was built, foundation you claimed as your own. Paused, letting words sink. Module 7, subroutine EPS, 256-bit encrypted key, based on non-repeating sequence from first 100,000 prime numbers. Only 2 people knew that key. Victor, myself. Victor has long since forgotten. Chun, it head, stepped forward, expression awe and urgency. Mr. Jenkins, you saying you can close this back door? You know how to access it, seal it. I can, Arthur said simply. More importantly, I understand its architecture, know how intruders exploit it. They haven't broken encryption, found harmonic resonance in data stream. Flaw I noted as theoretical, lacked processing power then to fully test. They're tricking old handshake protocol. Pierce speechless, face mask of disbelief. Power dynamic in dusty room shifted so completely, so suddenly, almost physical force. Tech mogul, industry titan, looking at old security guard not with contempt, but desperate, dawning dependency. Other executives, security personnel, staring at Arthur as if first time. Not furniture, but someone, significant. Why didn't you ever say anything? Pierce finally stammered. Fight gone. All these years, worked here, as guard. Arthur allowed small, sad smile. Who would have listened? Mr. Pierce, believed old night watchman. Would you? You, who built empire on my work, erased my name. You, who minutes ago threatened prosecution for not being worth much. Looked into Pierce's eyes. Sometimes, Mr. Pierce, most valuable things, hidden plain sight, dismissed because they don't fit preconceived notions of worth. Silence returned, heavier, filled with unspoken truths, years of injustice. Young Tech, Henderson, looking at Arthur with undisguised hero worship. Chun already pulling out secure laptop. Mr. Jenkins, Chun said, voice respectful. If you could, guide us. Show us. Best people on standby. Arthur nodded. Take me to a terminal. Secure one, and strong coffee. Black. Kind I made Mr. Pierce earlier fine. No malice. Just quiet assertion of newfound, or reclaimed, standing. Journey from dusty sublevel to gleaming crisis room felt like coronation. Pierce trailed, silent, shaken, whirled up. VP's department heads earlier ignoring Arthur now tripped clearing path, faces shock, dawning respect. Crisis room, anxious, top-tier programmers, analysts. Chun announced, everyone, this is Mr. Arthur Jenkins, original architect of understands vulnerability, going to help us. Murmurs, heads turned, eyes widened, saw old security guard, uniform slightly rumpled, yet undeniable aura of authority. Arthur sat at main console, fingers gnarled with age but surprisingly nimble, hovered over keyboard, closed eyes, 30 years melted. Back in element, logic, language flowing, began typing, not frantically, but deliberate, precise rhythm. Code lines on giant screen, arcane, almost alien to younger programmers, yet undeniably elegant. Spoke softly, dictating instructions to Chun, lead analysts, explaining intricacies of 30-year-old creation, not just closing back door. Teaching must, identified intruder's signature, predicted next move, began laying trap. Damon Pierce watched, spectator in own kingdom, as old man he humiliated, dismissed, worked with brilliance, never imagined. Man whose name he systematically erased now, only one who could save company. Irony potent, almost physically painful. Saw not just coder, but founder, creator. Passion palpable after decades of obscurity. Saw binary horizons ghost. And for first time, perhaps, Damon Pierce felt sliver of shame. His empire's foundation, source of immense wealth, power, laid by this quiet, unassuming man he hadn't deemed worthy of basic courtesy. Magnitude of his own arrogance, blindness, hit with force of physical blow. Empire, built on lie. Truth, named Arthur J. It took 2 more hours. Intense, focused work. Arthur, with Chun and Tima's hands and modern network experts, didn't just patch vulnerability. He helped them understand its genesis structure, how to build robust defenses against similar legacy exploits. Even identified intruder traces, potentially leading back to them. Subtle digital fingerprint he recognized from a programming style popular in Eastern Europe, late 90s. Finally, quiet command. Arthur initiated lockout. Main screen red warnings turned green. Data breach contained. Bleeding stopped. Collective sigh of relief, then spontaneous applause, filled crisis room. Young programmers watched in awe, crowded Arthur, no longer seeing security guard, but legend, founding father of their craft. Damon Pierce stood apart, pale, walked slowly to Arthur, sipping water, tired but content. Room silenced, watching CEO. Pierce stopped before Arthur. Long moment, just looked, then did something no one at Omnicorp ever saw. Bowed head slightly. Mr. Jenkins' voice. Hoarse. Arthur, I don't know what to say. Thank you. Inadequate. Paused, struggling. I was wrong. About everything. About you. Arthur met his gaze, weary eyes, no triumph. Perhaps, Mr. Pierce, softly. Lesson here is value isn't always in sharp suit or loud voice. Sometimes in quiet corners, people we overlook. Aftermath transformative. Arthur Jenkins no longer ghost. Omnicorp under humbled Damon Pierce issued public statement, acknowledging Arthur's foundational role, correcting decades-long omission. Arthur offered lucrative consultancy, hefty compensation for past and, most importantly, Arthur Jenkins' innovation lab to mentor young coders. Didn't return to security. Story of old guard saving tech giant became quiet legend. Reminder. Genius hidden, assumptions dangerous, true worth never truly erased. He reminds us, look deeper, listen carefully, because sometimes, person you least expect holds key you desperately need. What hidden talents surround you, unseen? What assumptions are you making? Think about it.